Welcome to In the Flow, where we explore how marketing leaders leverage operations to eliminate chaos and capture opportunity. I'm Anthony Welgemoed, CEO of Ziflow. Today on In the Flow, we're joined by Massimo Giunco, the man who spent more than 20 years helping steer Nike's brand across Europe, Russia, and the Middle East. He's built the Nike store of the future, led teams of 60, and watched up close what happens when a brand becomes both iconic and vulnerable. Now at SocialCom Italia, Massimo advises brands on how to stay creative and long-term, focused in a world obsessed with quick wins. We'll get into the fundamentals that never change, the new role of AI in the consumer journey, and why great brands still chase fame, not just metrics. Massimo, thank you for your time and welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you.
Excellent. So Massimo, we sort of mentioned Nike. I'll tell you one thing. My wife, she always tells me I own a ton of Nike shoes. I mean, my cupboard is just jammed full of Nike shoes. So, you were at Nike for over 20 years, working in brand and marketing. What were some of the problems that, come with being, linchpin brand like Nike, as opposed to being more of a challenger brand?
Actually, there wasn't there was the nature of Nike to be edgy, cool, always on the challenging scene, and at the same time being mainstream, very popular and open and accessible to everybody. There was in the DNA of the company to do something for athletes to play sport, but also to change the rule of the game and to change the design of the products, to change the rule of sports. And that's why these uh, two dimensions were never in conflict, but also helped Nike to expand and to become the Nike that it was. Nike is being built through three pillars: brand, product, and distribution. And in those three pillars, Nike was able to build its own greatness and shape the culture of sport, help people to export sport from the field, the court, into life, and they did that very well for almost 50 years. Then Nike reached the 50 billion threshold, and probably there was the moment of tension. I mean, there were existential questions around how can we continue to grow when we are so big, and what we need to do differently. And do we need to change our business model? Do we need to change something to increase capacity for us to develop new product or a new process or a new way to connect with the consumer? And probably there was the moment where the answer to those questions was wrong, because when you uh, strategy that is based on three pillars, quite simple: distribution, product innovation, and brand, and then you forget about those three pillars and you focus mainly on the way you do one thing. So you just say, I go digital, I go DTC, and I forget about the wealth and the depth of the great things that I've done in the past, and then you go against the pillar that help you to grow. The point is, the question was right. So what can we do to continue to grow in a world, in a business that is changing as well? But the answer probably was too drastic, in the sense we left what was working, we didn't think about that, and we invest everything on something that wasn't us, wasn't completely uh, coherent to what we were able to do. And this is what went against uh, the success of the brand and the success of the business. It was a wholesale company, brand driven, with a strong product innovation and product heritage footprint. And everything was put aside to focus mainly on becoming a strong e-commerce platform with a very digital consumer footprint. And there was visibly not the right thing to do, in the sense that you see, after 24 months, you start to see already business deteriorating from the fundamental point of view: gross margin, inventory level, and then you start to see the revenue growth declining, you start to see the revenue growth even on DTC and digital declining. And that means the consumer base was shrinking. So it was a chain reaction of signals,
Yeah.
all connected to the decision that we were taking in 2020.
Got it. And we sort of in the pre-call, you mentioned this memory impact. So consumer memory. I think you mentioned something about that. How does that sort of play into the brand and how Nike sort of changed?
How many days we have to talk about that? If we talk about marketing using the old formula, the 4 Ps, product, price, praise, and promotion. At the end, product and price haven't changed a lot. You need to make a good product and you need to sell it at a good price. Then, if the product is physical, virtual, real, fake, doesn't matter. If there is somebody that is ready to buy something because they need it, that's fine. It's when we talk about place, so the way the product is sold, there is a big change coming at the beginning of this century, that is e-commerce, and then other way to offer product, sharing economy and whatever. But again, there was an additional element to the way marketing was done. And now you have promotion is the one that has really changed. That is communication, is advertising, that is anything that has to do with the way a brand is able to connect with the consumer. To come back to your question around memory, the key point of any marketing and communication activity is to reach the highest number of people and create in those people a long-term sustainable memory, because you can reach a higher number of people, but if they don't remember you after 2 days, especially in the world where we live today, the effort to reach 1 billion people is quite useless. And then the third element that is very crucial is once you reach a high number of people and you are able to generate a memory in them that is able to be activated in the moment of purchase. So when I have a choice and then I see several brands and I remember that one brand is telling me something particular, okay, then give me the opportunity to buy this, so offering me as many options as possible and recognize those options in a store, e-commerce platform, or wherever you want to buy it. That's the role of memory, is something that when we talk about digital marketing, for instance, memory is the weak element of it, because the way you build memory is through experiences, it's through emotion, it's through different level of stimulation. And the majority of the digital assets are not doing that, are not generating it. And also they are built maybe to catch your attention in 0.7 seconds when you scroll something on a social media.
Very short term, right? Yeah.
And then you click and you jump on the website but you know that the redemption rate, the click-through rate is already ridiculous. The redemption rate once you're in the conversion, once you're on the platform, is very low. So the funnel is very narrow. The memory helps to maintain the branding in your brain. And then anytime there is an opportunity, even if it is not triggered by the brand inside, but it's triggered by events of life, you remember the brand. It's a completely different game. The digital marketing is weak on that side. It's very strong on many other opportunities. It's very strong to expand the options to be visible in some form or to measure,
Yeah.
because it's all based on data and it's
Yeah. You got the clicks, you got the conversions.
and that's it's a perfect tool to for the CFO to start loving marketing instead of hating it because it's a waste of money, because they can see immediately the return of the investment they make. But it doesn't work in the at the same level of things that look expensive and they cannot be measured, but they are very effective from a memory perspective.
It's sort of like over indexing on digital quick ROI measurement versus the brand and what the brand tells you, how the brand makes you feel, the emotion.
Well, there are a little bit. I don't even know if it is over-indexing, because it's almost a religion now. It's basically, this is it. When you more and more brands that are considering digital marketing the only marketing that is possible. And when I talk about digital marketing, I mainly talk about communication via the digital ecosystem. Making a brand campaign at the end translates into having some activities for the social media, having some display ads here and there, and buying a lot of keywords for Google. And then I can see the results immediately, and maybe I can also have some very good return on investment on the short term. But then I realize that my brand is not growing, and the performance of the marketing activity is declining quarter by quarter, year by year. The cost of content, the cost per content is much higher year by year. So and on top of that, because the digital universe is infinite, you know, so apparently people, I mean, the professional thing is also for free. So I can open 60 accounts on social media per category, per region, brands, and whatever. And then I can produce thousands of mini contents for TikTok, and I can open my channel on Twitch, and I can invade the net with my display ads on several websites through programmatic platform that I don't control anymore. And the cost per content is a fraction of a cent. They don't control any. And I think it's almost for free. But again, the cumulative cost of the production asset, of the operation you need to put in place to make this effort, and is quite high. Is quite high compare with the return that I have on the long-term brand health.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. Without, I'm not touching the frauds. I'm not touching the, all the opacity of the performance marketing system. This is another conversation.
And so, so obviously a lot's changed with digital, and especially when I come from, like, over the last 50 years. I mean, it's marketing and so changed a lot, but there are basic principles. In your view, well, what are some of the basic principles that have just stayed constant, through marketing and the ages, if you will?
Well, I already mentioned the three pillars, the three things that must be done. That is, expand the reach of consumer, create memories, and make the brand more accessible. Now, the most important principle is something that is quite common to all the most important brands that you can see. If you take the top 100 list of the most important brands, the one they've been there for decades, they have one thing: they are famous. They build their fame. I mean, year by year, campaign by campaign, step by step, working on culture, working on distribution, working on product, working on storytelling, working on influencer sponsorship, ambassador. They did anything they could to be famous, like a great actor like Robert De Niro, like David Beckham and David and Victoria Beckham, or Taylor Swift. So they are famous. There is no, when I talk about that, people look at me and say, yeah, okay, thank you very much. This is great information. And I recognize that it is a very obvious statement. But at the same time, I mean, if you take entertainment, and yeah, you must have talent, you must have a certain attitude, you must be handsome or beautiful, whatever. But at the end, only the actor that is able to perform year by year and to be multidimensional and able to connect with different audiences, doing different parts, dramatic, comedy, whatever. So they're able to expand their universe and remaining famous at every level are the ones that are able to succeed. And so this is what I think, what I mean when I say fame. It's
Yeah.
I like a lot the story of David Beckham. He was a football player.
Mm.
playing in Manchester, the center of the universe, just a city. But then he was handsome, so he started to be a model. And then he became the boyfriend of one of the Spice Girls. So he became also very popular in terms of with the female audience, with the gossip and mainstream audience. And then he became a fashion icon. So he also was cool for a certain level of audience. So he touched all the dimension. It became part of the culture, part of the everyday talks, but also part of the gossip and controversies and whatever. And all of this built his fame. And was it built or was it natural? It was a combination of the two things.
I think yeah, what's interesting about that example, I've never thought of the David Beckham example, to be honest, but it's it's adapting. So he's a footballer, and then he played for England, and then, yeah, now he's sort of adapted his
Yeah.
style and his brand over the years where, okay, I'm not playing football anymore, but, how's he stayed, I don't know if relevant's the right word, but how's he stayed famous and kept his brand going? And I think how he's adapted over the years has actually been pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the example of David Beckham is I took it from there is one of the most authoritative master of advertising, Paul Feldwick, is the one that is talking about fame as a key driver of a brand, and he made this comparison with David Beckham really because it's this multidimensionality and his ability to attract people and to stay relevant across a long period of time. Influencer, many brands think they can be famous and stay famous using social media, but this is just a tool. It's not. It's just a media. It's not the way. It's what's the story that you are creating. How you can, you know, uh, build this multidimensionality in the culture, in your environment, expand your environment. And definitely, if social media becomes, okay, that's the place where I must be, that's a strong limitation. And so that's my point of view.
Yeah, so how would I mean, brands today, I mean, there's a lot more marketing, a lot more noise out there, and getting people's attention is harder. Telling a story, I think, is also sometimes hard because people just don't have as much time. But, what would you advise brands to do today, in this environment of mass amount of content, AI generative stuff? What should marketing teams work on and focus on?
I wish I knew. So today, marketeer is almost mission impossible. We need to recognize that. When I started working in marketing, the media landscape was already fragmented, but still simple. You start to see cable TVs and nothing compared to today, where you have mainstream TV, you have streaming, you have YouTube, you have all the universe of internet, and you can reach people in thousands ways. So it's really difficult. And because the web is infinite, as we said, and right now apparently it seems that the web is built to host advertising. So the consumer journey on the web is surrounded by advertising messages. So is the word clutter, whatever. So to be visible in this context is definitely not easy. At the same time, there is a world outside the web. There is a real life. The combination to use, there is not a real answer or a real solution. But the point is that you need to make experiment. You need to try, and you need to think that real experiences, then they visible, relevant, they can be unexpected, they can generate emotions, also simple one. They are today able to be amplified 1 million times more than something that is born and dies just on a single social media post. That's where, you know, you see actors, you see sport events, you see music artists doing and interacted with real people and generating some kind of emotions that can be immediately amplified through the social media. So, and this is where, as I start from that, or the other thing is create stories that are significant. that are meaningful. It's very difficult to tell a story through a single post on Instagram or through a reel on Instagram that is in the middle of other 1,000 reels of other people or companies or whatever. So
If I could quickly ask you, I know it's very maybe sounds like a very simple question, but what what is a story? I know, like, it should be quite obvious, but maybe people are wondering, like, because people talk about like, hey, what you tell stories, there's a brand story, but if you had to like really just tell a new marketer, tell the story, but what is a brand story? How do you start with that?
is a plot that is able to connect with you emotionally, then generate some kind of chemical reaction in your body and is sticking to your brain. Okay, now that's the psychological, the neuroscience. You have the hero, you know,
Mhm.
usually it's the consumer or a person that may represent the consumer or a person that may inspire the consumer that has a problem. And then it starts a journey to overcome this problem. And usually in every movie, you have the up and down. You have a problem, you go down, you have a crisis, and then you meet someone that starts helping you. And that can be the role of the brand, helping you to overcome the problem. And then you start to solving the problem, and you may have some up and down in the story, and then you reach the climax, the success at the end, and it is able to generate emotion because it's contagious. You see your hero winning and solving the dilemma he had, and he is happy, and then you see it and you are happy as well, and maybe you cry or you laugh, and that's a story that is able to generate more memory than a single post.
And is Nike, if we take Nike story, is that a little bit like for an athlete, it's, their problem, their villain is performing better and Nike will help them to perform better, or it's a lifestyle thing. I want to look cooler or better. And there's a lifestyle brand in Nike that's going to help them do that. Is that sort of
Well,
similar things?
more or less. In the world of sport, the stories are very, very powerful because they're very real. You can immediately identify yourself. Even
And there's a
you're-
win or a lose in it. Yeah.
yeah, the winner or losing, it's you earn a game only if you work hard. But then the benefit and the reward is very strong, is very high. So there are all these elements and combination of elements that can create fantastic stories. And that's why the world of sport is the world of emotion by definition. And it's a never ending source of stories.
Yeah.
Every brand. Then it's how you are able to capture them, describe them, being original in telling them without repeating yourself. But every season there is a new champion, there is a new hero, and in every sport, and then you have the repetition of the Olympic Games or the Grand Slam
Mm.
tournament. It's a gold mine of emotional stories if you know how
Yeah.
to use. And they are real life athletes that you can, they are not invented, or you can definitely leverage them and play with them.
We sort of spoke about Nike and how they sort of changed. But are there any brands you feel like are doing a good job today, with their storytelling and just their fundamentals?
Yeah, it's a tough question in the sense that, you know, I'm nobody to say who's good or bad, but
Okay, in your opinion.
I can use my personal taste. And I was thinking of the latest campaign of Montclair,
Mm,
the one using Al Pacino and Robert De Niro
yeah.
in a very, shot made by Platon. And so those are two global icons, they arrive at a certain age. I mean, they're two old rival, but old friends. They are staying together, smiling, warm together. So there are a lot of emotional connection, but also very elegant connection to the brand. And then you have this simple idea, very effective, and then you are able to translate that into documentaries, into social media posts, into out of home messages all over the key cities. at retail. And I like that because it's immediately recognizable. It's a positive, it's simple, it's a positive story. And so you don't have to overthink. You just go and you do this, and they have a tradition. So Moncler is another brand like Nike used to be. So it's working on making this brand more and more famous year by year at anything that they do in the product collection and at retail level, in the brand communication, with style, with attention to detail, but also ongoing 24/7. So it's this is where I say, if I was talking about fame, okay, they are already doing the right job on that perspective, because this is also, they don't celebrate every campaign like, oh, this is the campaign of the century. No, I just, okay, do this, and then, okay, next chapter, next one, because they know that they need that to continue to have a brand that is able to transcend, just the product that they sell. You need to produce in the right way.
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah.
Because you're right, you need to produce, because if you have 50 digital media that you need to feed with stuff, yeah, you need to produce.
Yeah. And it's
That's
going to be
the-
good. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can produce 20,000 assets per year and tell nothing to people, and
Yeah.
and that's the key problem.
And that's just the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, you are part of the noise that you don't transcend in any form. So then the brand activity becomes mechanic and not human, and that's the biggest risk.
If there's a book you could recommend someone to read to learn more about marketing or just like brand and so on, or what is like the one book that you would go to?
One is probably on the marketing as a strategy. It is Byron Sharp, How Brand Grows One and How Brand Grows Two, and those are the fundamentals. I mean, the guy is a professor and is very scientific, with experiment, data driven, but you don't need to know everything. You just need to understand the principle and the laws that are behind marketing. Marketing is not a science, it's actually an imperfect science made but there are some rules in some law like patterns that you want to follow, you don't want to challenge, because otherwise you have problems. And those, I mean, Byron Sharp is able to clearly highlight what are those laws and why you want to understand and work against them and not revolt them. And the second book is Paul Feldwick, How the Peddler Scene. It is about really the role of fame in the world of communication and advertising. So one is marketing, and the second is more advertising.
No,
That they're not the same things, but one
Yeah.
is helping the other to succeed.
that's fantastic. No, thanks for that recommendation. Massimo, thank you so much for your time today. I think you gave us a lot to think about in terms of brand storytelling and how to approach it and what not to do. I think that's one of the key things. Really enjoyed the conversation, and yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you again.
Yeah, I'm sharing insights from around the marketing, tech, and operations industries on how marketing and creative teams can get more done together.